Law enforcement suicides are at an all-time high right now. One of the causes is poor leadership within the law enforcement profession. Nick, the host of the Roll Call Room podcast, has written a book, Police Mental Barricade, A Survivor's Guide to Poor Law Enforcement Leadership. This book is a raw and powerful look into suicide and how poor leadership decisions contribute to law enforcement suicides. Buy the book now at mentalhealthbarricade.com and stop the stigma.
Welcome to Off Duty and On the Air. The issues discussed on Off Duty and On the Air podcast do not reflect the opinions of any specific agency. They are the views of the host and the guests. Any persons discussed may be fictional for comedic purposes only. This podcast is rated explicit, and listener discretion is advised. Listening to Off Duty and On the Air may trigger repressed or suppressed memories or experiences. Please contact a mental health professional at your earliest convenience.
You're listening to Off Duty and On the Air podcast. The podcast is about being a cop and sorting through the bullshit without looking over your shoulder for internal investigations. Talking about major issues while helping you find the answers. And now, here's your hosts, Kelly, Mr. Hat, Dr. Dave, Marc the Cop, and Nick.
Correcting your final sign.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are kicking off our pilot episode of Off Duty and On the Air. I am one of your hosts, Nick. We'll go around the room. Marc, kick it off for us, buddy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marc the Cop. I'm one of your esteemed hosts.
Hello, my name is Dr. David, and I'm a part of this fabulous team.
I'm Mr. Hat. I'm part of this team by court order.
I am the Kelly, and I'm just proud to be here.
And I'm FD Donnie. Also proud to be here.
It's awesome that you're still awake, Donnie.
I appreciate that.
Let's go right into how we came about this no show. We did a joint venture, a mashup, I guess we can call it, of the Roll Call Room and the Shield Within. And the episode was just so great. It was 2+ hours. Thankfully, it was recorded on your end, Marc, and your team, because the Roll Call Room cannot be relied upon to record things. And I guess we'll talk about that on another Roll Call Room episode, which was the panic that set in. That beautiful 2.5 hours was wasted. But what we did was we were talking behind the scenes, and we really see a need for a joint show like this of so many folks that have different point of views from the job. And specifically, we have something that not a lot of folks do have, which is somebody like Dr. Dave here to kind of help us through and kind of dissect some of the things. We use a lot of comedy to disguise some of the real festering issues. So we're going to be relying very heavily in this show on Dr. Dave. We're going to be pointing stuff over to Dr. Dave and actually letting him explain why Jeff is so screwed up. Jeff doesn't know this, but this whole show is going to be based around Jeff.
I certainly have a lot of episodes we can download. Here.
Yeah, and then like whenever Donnie is awake, we can kind of peel back some of those layers too, like what it was like to be the second responder. You know, I love you.
Oh, wow,
I love you so much. We're only 2 minutes in already.
And Don,
Aren't you glad you're here?
Yeah.
I'm very glad.
You're just jealous that your field training does not involve a train.
We just do that back at the station.
All aboard!
But I joke. I couldn't resist.
wow,
Marc. I turn it over to you. We'll start off.
Yeah, Well, Nick, I don't know if this is a good idea with you and I on the same show or not. It's like a couple of ringmasters here in a 5-ring circus. This show is going to be more of, I feel, and what we've talked about several times, and if I'm reiterating, I apologize, but let's talk about the healing side. I know you've been through the fire, Nick. I've been through the fire. Mr. Hat has had his experiences. Donnie legit has been through the fire. And then Kelly, sadly, I put her in the middle of the fire. So, so we're all on the other side of public safety. And I can tell you my personal story is I was thinking that, boy, I get off the job, I get in some intensive therapy, things are going to be great. Well, there is some success, but there's also ongoing work that needs done. I retired 2 years ago, almost 2 years, coming up here April the 10th. So we're almost a month away. Still having problems. I still have rage issues, still have sleep issues, still have stomach issues. I'm still horribly overweight, so is it rainbows and unicorns? It's better. It's not quite like it is in one thing, although there is several successes. My marriage is put back together, and I'm thankful for that.
Awesome.
We continue to push forward, but I think we need to echo a little bit more that every day is a little bit of a therapy day. And you just have to do a little more self-care. You need to learn, and I hope I don't sound like a broken record, but my life now is like as if I'm a paraplegic. I need to learn how to live without my legs. And that's not saying anything about Americans with disabilities, but I have a disability, and it sadly is what's between my ears, and I'm not the same person anymore. Right. Although we like to laugh and carry on, and I hear people say, "Oh, well, you guys are having so much fun on that podcast." Yeah, we are. We are having fun. I'm very thankful and I think blessed to be a part of this. Thank you all very much, and I hope our listeners listening in get something out of it and have a good time.
Right
on. One of the things I guess that I come into this today is something that my clients taught me over 4 decades plus of doing clinical work. I'm retired now, and I got called back into active service. Didn't activate my license, but I'm doing coaching now. And the same is true for the folks I'm doing coaching with now too. Much of what we end up doing on our shows, and I think all of us as individuals do, is to work on what I call the 4 F's, the things that get us through the tough shit. And actually the teachers of this set of skills to me were abused children, foster kids, sexually, physically abused kids. They told me stories that made me have a real basic question. How the hell did you get through that? And I just kept listening to their answers. And eventually I saw patterns. The things that got people through the hardest shit was faith, family, friends, and favorite activities. So in thinking about getting ready to be off the road, and here we are on the air, I thought, this is a show about the 4 F's. This is a show about how you make self-love into a nice phrase, into an actual daily behavior. And when I do start coaching with someone, I say to them in the first 5 minutes, we are going to come up with something during this hour that you're going to do as soon as we hang up the phone. That's the point. And activity that you're focused on, it's intentional. I am going to care for my body today. I'm going to care for my emotions today. I'm going to take care of my thinking today. I'm going to take care of my relationships today. These are all things that make the present more powerful and get you ready for being off the road. Because the thing is, when you're off the road and you've lived your whole life doing honestly anything, but especially law enforcement, it seems, it's hard to get your head out of that place. And then you're lost and you feel like your whole meaning in your life is gone. No, not if you nurture the 4 F's, man. If you nurture the 4 F's, you're going to get to the point where you say goodbye, turn in your badge, your gun, walk out the door, get in your car, drive away into something meaningful, rewarding, valuable, exciting. More like, fucking finally, I get time to do this. Rather than, God, what am I going to do with my time? You can't wait to jump into the first half day because you've been waiting for this for a long time.
And with that, I think we can end the show.
Right.
I've got some work to do.
That was great. So
it's off to you,
Mr. Hat turn. So I mean, what can you say? What Mark and Dr. Dave just said, but my journey here. I'm 30 plus years in law enforcement. Just retired a year ago, 1 year ago, just a couple of days ago. Thinking that, man, I went my whole career thinking, man, if I could just get to retirement, that's when all my shit's going away. That's when my life's going to change. All the stresses are going to be gone. But quite the contrary. Now that I have the free time and stuff like that, that's when the hauntings, I'd say, start. And I've been a client of Dave's for several years now. And that was the first time I realized I've lost those 4 F's. I didn't even know I lost them. And I'm just trying to find them. And I was fortunate enough to be with Marc the Cop here. We were midnight sergeants for different organizations. And my beloved organization, I was one of the senior sergeants in the highway patrol. And I had all 3 shifts. I worked 2 midnights, 2 afternoons, 1 day shift. I was like, wow, this is really great. I'm the fucking senior guy around. But fortunately, that gave me the opportunity to meet up with Marc the Cop here on every Sunday night. We had a little Sergeant Sunday.
Sergeant Sunday, wasn't it?
So I got therapy with Dave on Friday and Marc the Cop on Sunday. And just through that relationship and how important that relationship was. And then we got in with, then Donnie's part of it. And then now Kelly. And it's just a freaking phenomenal thing that we have together. And through the shit I'm dealing with mentally, physically, emotionally, a lot of people, and I'll just say this real quick and I'll move on. A lot of people, I was a sergeant for 18 years. So I had people coming in my office all day, every day. Hey, I got this problem. I got this problem. I got this problem. And I was happy to help. And then when people are hearing this, they're like, Jesus, I thought you had this. I thought you were, mentally, you were like the stable one. And I'm like, maybe because I hit it or whatever. But when people start telling me that, like, wow, I had no idea you were struggling that hard. And if I can share that, and I go to a different therapist, and we still talk with Dave, and I want to be able to put that out there and share that. It's okay to not be okay, but you need to get pointed in the right direction, and that's my goal for all of us.
Awesome. The Kelly.
Hello, I am the Kelly. So my experiences are not as long-term as these gentlemen here. I started in 2013 in my police journey and happily ended it in 2021. It's hard for me because I didn't feel like there was anything wrong until we all kind of started addressing it. Then you start feeling, and the answers just kind of flood you. You don't feel like there's, you feel like, oh, I'm fine. Everything is cool and everything is okay. And then you start having these important, intense conversations with other people, and it starts to kind of surface. And you're like, whoa, why am I feeling this way? And why do I have these emotions? And why can't I just control myself? And, then you kind of lose your self-identity. And through all of that, and particularly this group, I'm learning a lot about myself and a lot about things that hopefully I can overcome. I'm a pretty confident person, but until you get into the room and you start doing that intense healing, and it doesn't matter how happy somebody seems on the outside, you can't you can't go multiple years of law enforcement and not take care of yourself. You just can't. It doesn't matter how good you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there. And I'm so happy and I'm thankful for you guys that I'm taking care of it now than in, when it could be too
You're
late.
old like us.
When it could be too late. When it could be too late.
Well, I'll tell you
sure.
this. The next person I'm pretty excited, as much as we joke around with him being from the FD side. I'm kind of intrigued because I didn't get a lot of exposure on my other show with a lot of the FD side. I had one guy on my old show that was in the fire department for 6 years and then jumped over to the Jedi side.
We call them cross dressers.
Well, and I'll tell you this is, and I'm looking at his transcript right now, and I'm just reading it verbatim, and he said it was the best move he ever made, jumping over because he got tired of sleeping all the time. That's word for word. But in all honesty, it's I'm really intrigued on FD Donnie's side, because when you think of the first responder side, I think FD paramedics and dispatchers all get lumped in, which is there is no collateral damage, there is no residual. And I might be a little guilty of that on the dispatcher side, and that was only fairly recent, where I was like, wow, they really get a tremendous amount of trauma and no resolve at the end of it. They take the call. Yeah. They really don't know what the end result is. So I say that because I want to kick it over to FD Donnie and kind of get your perspective. You've been the guy behind the scenes, or sort of on the scene with the Shield Within, and I've had interaction with you with bailing me out with editing and stuff because I suck at it. But I want to kind of get the FD side. I want to kind of get your point of view too.
All right. Well, I was with the department for 24 years of sleeping. And for a couple hours of that 24 hours, or 24 years worth, I did have to move the cops out of the way so we could go into the fire. We'll just throw those two out there real quick and be done.
Block every lane of the highway.
Look at
right.
There's my big truck.
No, but on the fire department side, I mean, there was a lot of stuff that we've seen over the years. I was one, retired as a captain, was a lieutenant for a while. And a lot of the stuff that we see, day in and day out on different calls, fatalities and just all the different stuff. And then we bring that stuff home with us, it comes across to our families. And basically if it wasn't for Marc the Cop, I probably wouldn't be here today. He came to my house one day, and we just had a little discussion. And I was at that point of, everything I've seen over the years, and it was my time. And like I said, I talked to Marc, and then Marc kind of, he helped me through everything, told me where I needed to get, with Dr. David here, and then also with another therapist that we've talked to, or counselor, and he's helped me with everything, and then also saved my marriage as well. So, there was a bunch of different things I brought home every day to my kids, to everything. So, fire department side of it, the thing is, you see this stuff every day. We pass, where somebody died, or whatever, and it's just that just replays in your mind. So, but after 24 years, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I think all of us on the first responder side, I know for me, I don't go into the city that I worked in very often, or at all. Sorry, I don't at all. Since I've left, I don't drive through there. But I drive through the major highway 95 that goes through the city. Mm-hmm. And I'll have my daughter in the car, or I'll have my daughter and my wife in the car. And I only associate specific geographical areas within the city that I patrolled based on the horrific things that have happened. We'll drive by and I'll go, yeah, that building right there, somebody jumped out the 15th floor. That building right there, somebody tried to blow us up while we were on a call. So we kind of take that, and kind of that's how we relate to things when we're driving by. So just that kind of residual trauma. I did have a question for Dr. Dave while everybody was going around. which was, and this is a pretty profound question. I don't expect for you to have the Yoda answer to
I bet he does.
I was giving him
Right,
the
he does.
disclaimer.
I'll throw $20 on that.
Yeah.
30.
My question, I actually wrote it down. So for me to write,
Okay, here we go.
yeah. It says, what do you think that the biggest obstacle is for first responders to go get that help? What do you think the biggest? Because I think all of us and within that are first responders, we're all like, I don't need help, or I just don't want to get help.
Oh yeah, right.
What do you think
Absolutely.
the major like blockage is for those folks that are listening?
I think of it as internal and external. So there's actually a number one for each of those. Internal, the thing that seems to get in the way is, like you just described, what most people would call denial. I'm fine. I know I'm not fine, but I'm going to say and try and convince myself that I am fine. And you're put in enough circumstances over the course of a day, a week, a month, where people are saying, dude, are you okay? Oh, yeah, I'm fine, man. And so you get that, and you just practice it over and over and over
Right,
again until
absolutely.
you're like, hey, yeah, I really am okay.
Mm-hmm.
Bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the internal one. I'm fine. The insistence on being fine, the insistence on dismissing all the other things that say I'm not fine. External, I've found this, people have talked about how much shit they get from their departments, and I believe every word of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff that ended up keeping folks out of my office was money and pragmatics. Like, when during the week am I going to have time for a counseling appointment? Have to drive out of my home, out of my city, drive half an hour to see you. I'm going to be there for an hour, maybe more if we're doing trauma resolution. Then I got to drive back home. I don't know what kind of shape I'm going to be in when I get back home. It just chunks out the day. And if you start doing trauma resolution work, you might want to see the therapist more often. So it gets to be just a practical thing. I can't get the time off. I can't get the time off discreetly so that nobody has to ask too many questions about where I've gone, where were you all day, that kind of shit. I heard so many people talked about just, if I can find the time, if I can carve out the right day, the right time, and since I'm cheap, it was easy for that end, but it was a hard thing to get people to find the spot in their day or their week to do an appointment. That's the internal and the external things.
Do you think at all there's a little bit of the fear of seeming weak?
I think we all got hands in the air on that one.
That's
Go
what
ahead,
it was
David.
for me.
Go ahead, David.
I'm throwing some thunder at you, Dave. I say that because what's your opinion on that? And then I'll have diarrhea of the mouth.
Clinch for a minute, Nick.
Tell me, rephrase the question for me.
Do you think at all that maybe one of the major reasons why folks don't come forward is the fear of seeming weak to their peers, bosses above them, and even in their relationship, seeming weak and vulnerable? Do you think at all that has some contributing factors to it?
What most people talked about was, and this is true for all trauma folks that I work with, car accidents, fires, a lot of sexual victimization. People understand when they walk in the room, actually before they make the first phone call, they have this like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I got to be open to walking up to the shit that I've been walking away from so expertly for the last X number of decades in my life. I mean, I had a woman who carried incest around in her mind for over 6 decades.
Oh, my.
It shaped her whole adult life. She never sought help for it until she retired. So all of a sudden you go, oh, shit, I'm ready to do this. Am I ready to do this? I'm not ready to do this. I'm ready to do this. Man, I got to do this. Something has to happen. It kicks you over the line, and you make the phone call. And you understand when you make the phone call, I have to acknowledge that I'm ready to face the hard shit. And what I've come to call surrendering to the truth. I think most first responders and most rape survivors, for that matter, they all know I got some work to do.
Yeah.
And doing it means facing up to the fact that I have some work to do and understanding that when I do the work, it's going to be hard and it's going to change me in ways I cannot predict or even imagine. And that by itself is scary as fuck. I know where I've been. I've somehow managed to make it work for X number of years. Now I'm willing to just throw it all up in the air and see where it lands and reorganize. Yeah. Yeah. That's large. So there's much hesitation.
Yeah. I think one of the goals for this, for off duty and on the air, is to bridge that gap between feeling weak and vulnerable and getting them in your front door.
Oh, amen.
And we bridge that gap. And then the other thing is what is your feeling on, and I'm going off an exit here.
Cool.
What is your feeling on quarterly PTSD? Quarterly PTSD analysis for first responders.
We have taken a position on the Shield Within and have advocated for this strongly, that when somebody starts a career in law enforcement or any kind of first responder profession, have a therapist when you start the job. If your department doesn't direct you or provide you with that resource, find it yourself. To me, it's much like if you went into a job where you're going to have a lot of heavy physical demands, get a trainer. Have somebody help you with that shit, If you're going to be doing that all the time, same thing here. And I've just been reading just here in the last week. I got lots more to read about this, but what has happened kind of like small but growing is this thing called a mental health gym, which is focusing on those things that increase your own well-being, your own mental health. I like the idea a lot. Started to check into it a little bit this week, just a little bit of time I've had. I like this idea a lot. And I think it's really the whole thing. You start out your career checking in and assuming I'm going to need mental health help from time to time. So whether I see somebody every 3 months, every 6 months, once a year, I'm up for all that. And again, you don't want to mandate it. You don't want to force it, because then you get instant resistance to just the fact that I'm going in the door. Yeah. But if you, the person, your coworkers, your department are selling you on the wisdom of doing this, you're probably going to do it, or at least consider it strongly. And I think that makes a huge difference to walk into your career with that resource in your back pocket.
Very, very true. I want to ask FD Donnie something. Mark, jump in if you want to chime in too, because you were
so we'll just leave the hands down from here. So if it's like a gang initiation, jump in. So
yeah,
just go ahead and clear the table. Go ahead.
I don't do 60 seconds. Anyway,
oh dear.
Donnie, you said something, because out of all of us, you had 3 sergeants in the room, and then you as a captain on the FD side. Now, what you've been through, now, everything. Let's say you were still on the job. You were still a captain, right? Proby comes out of the academy. What's the piece of advice that you would give, aside from the equipment stuff, aside from, making sure you save your ass and taking care of yourself? What is your advice now that you've been through all of the shit that you've been through? What would be the advice you as a captain when they first come to your station? I mean, after you show them where their bed is and how they, hold,
there it is.
What's the other?
Don't forget their shelf in the refrigerator.
There's your sippy cup right there in the shelf.
This is our coupon clipping scissor. This is what we do for grocery shopping.
And this is where we keep the tourniquets in case a cop gets you. Never mind.
Ow.
Yeah. Shots fired, literally.
Blue Canary. Tell him the Blue Canary.
Yeah, the Blue Canary. No, I mean, in all honesty, I was actually at my son's basketball game today, and the lady next to me was talking about, aren't you on the fire department? And I'm like, no. I said, I gave it up 2 years ago. And she said, well, my son's currently taking it in high school, and he's getting ready to go to his EMT school as soon as he turns 18. She goes, so what do you think on that? I said, don't do it. And then she said, what do you mean by that? I said, because, I mean, you could do it. I said it's a great job, but in return, I said get mental health started right away. At least start doing your check-ins now.
Yeah.
And just maintaining your mind in that way. So when things do hit, you can start to deal with it then. Because if I would have had that 24 years ago, I probably wouldn't have made a million of the mistakes that I did. So mental health is the biggest thing. And I will say that to everybody that, that's starting out. When you
first started in the fire department, mental health was a big deal?
Not at all. Mental health at the time was on the back burner. It wasn't even really close to the stove.
I think if we went down the room, like, is anybody in the room, does anybody feel like when they first started, mental health was the top of your list at all? Was it even on your radar? It wasn't for me at all.
No, absolutely not.
Not even close. And it was never discussed in the academy. Like, never ever discussed.
No, and the thing about it is mental health, even if it was discussed, I was fucking 8 foot tall, made of fucking steel. When I first started, I didn't even goddamn mental health. I'm fine. Mm-hmm. Like Jeff and I used to door up and we talk about, hey, remember your first fatal? Yeah, man, wasn't that fucking cool? Yeah, dude's eyeballs are hanging out, blah, blah, blah. And, so at that stage in the game where you aren't cognizant that you're starting to add, you're adding to your, and I called mine the Pandora's box because there's a lot of ugly fucking shit in there.
It's the photo album.
Yeah, Donnie has the photo album. If we get some time, I'd like for you to talk about that just very, very briefly. But like with me, all of my traumas that I didn't deal with, Nick, I threw in a box, and I just simply didn't. Oh, there we are. And I just simply didn't deal with it. I just threw it away, or I just threw it in the box and put the lid on. But in 2006, 2007, my fucking box flipped over. And all this shit just started pouring out, and it was like whack-a-mole. I mean, I just couldn't deal with it. And then on top of that, I have more traumas coming in.
Yeah.
So, my Pandora's box was like a 5-gallon bucket with a bunch of holes drilled in the bottom, and I got a fucking mess.
Yeah.
So my shit's everywhere. And I'm trying to put life together. The marriage is going to shit. My wife and I separated. Of course, I did the smart thing. Hey, let's get a girlfriend. Yeah, that was smart. But, as if things ain't fucked up enough, let's add this in. Mm-hmm. So, and then one day I ended up walking up this long stairway on Poplar Street in Sydney. And, my good friend to my right here was sitting on the other side of the doorway. And, getting to that point of something's fucked up. And it might start with a suicide attempt. It was right after an honor guard. I just did a line of duty for firemen. It was a fire service, and they called me up and they said, hey man, we need one more, would you come up? I said sure. And we know the guy. We'll talk off air who the guy was. He just retired. Okay. I'm talking about, and good luck to him. And I said, sure. So the fire department, police department joke, you were honor guard, right, Nick?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, the jokes were going back and forth, but, so yeah, I went up and did a fireman. He was an active duty, not line of duty. So he had died. He had a heart attack. He was on the fire department and then died. Yeah. And I was in my honor guard uniform. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this today. This would be a good time to do this. And yeah, it didn't happen. But we can talk about that in the future show, why it didn't happen. But something snapped, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. What the fuck is going on here? And then I called a good friend, and he's like, hey, man, you need to talk to my buddy. He's like, God damn, dude, you're not the same dude, and you're fucking hurting, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And but I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what is PTSD. What's happening to me? And then, when I met Dr. Dave and we started, and of course I thought, yeah, a couple sessions. Yeah, we'll be good. Go right back to work. I'm still in therapy today. And it isn't any better. And I've been off the job. And like what I said, in David said, no, I thought that was very good. Why don't you go to therapy? Cost, right?
Yeah.
What's the cost if you don't, Donnie?
Could be death. for one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's the real costs, of not going to therapy? The real costs are, let's see, you're spiraling. So I'm going to go out and have some drinks with the boys, and now I'm fucked up. And oh my goodness, Mr. Hat's behind me, or someone of his brethren, and now we're arrested for OVI. What's the average cost of an OVI now, Mr. Hat?
Ooh, $5,000, $10,000.
10.
Yeah, $10,000 for one bad mistake. Oh, wait a minute. You're a first responder, so guess what?
You're on the news.
Front page. Front page. Right down front. Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're humiliated.
Yeah.
Now, not only you are personally, but now guess who's going to be up your nose?
Right.
Yeah, the brass.
The AI guy.
Yeah, now you're going through AI. And so what's the cost? Okay,
Yeah.
so now we got reputation.
Right.
We got money. Okay. And why aren't you going in that door? Cost. I don't have, it's, I don't know, average. I can tell you in my world, the cost of my psychiatrist, and I'll pay it. That Dr. Dave's not a psychiatrist, but I use Molly Hall. And you can look her up. She's wonderful, but it's $225 for an hour. I'll pay that all fucking day long.
Money well spent.
It really is. I mean, it really is. But and some people's like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, but what's the cost?
Yeah,
what's the real cost?
Well, I'll tell you what the cost is, Mark. And I'll give a statistic. It's the 4th of March. Whenever this gets released, there's been 18 line of duty deaths in 2023, and there's been 18 suicides this year. Law enforcement suicides.
Oh my goodness.
18 and 18. Exactly the same. So there's your cost. Like that's
right.
Unbelievable. Since the first of the year.
Yeah, I saw that statistic this morning, and I wrote it down on my nifty pad because I would have forgotten about it. And I knew we were going to do this show, and I wanted to somehow put that in, which was 18 and 18. And so every year over the last, I think, 3 years, we've always had more suicides over line of duty deaths. And that's just in law enforcement.
Right.
I don't have the FD side, but I'll make sure next episode we do, we should have those statistics. And those are the ones that are reported.
Right.
So there are a lot that aren't reported or that are accidental discharges or something like that. So, Mark, that's very profound, which is that, I mean, 225 or what was it? Yeah, 225 an hour?
Yes, she's $225
Nothing.
for her, but that's some people say that's cheap. I mean, I hear people that's paying $400.
I mean, Donnie spends that on massages.
What's your point, Nick?
Well, he's happy when he leaves.
Yeah.
Well, the flip side to that is
you said flip.
The flip side to that is it Jeff that's doing the massages. So,
oh wow.
Donnie,
is there video by chance?
How do you know that? Yeah.
To get back on track, you guys. My attorney fee is $350 an hour, and I'm comparing attorney fees to deal with the crap that you get yourself into.
Yeah.
And if you don't just go back to the mental health, I mean, that's definitely intense.
Okay, so you're talking about divorce. Keep going on that. What
I thought
happened?
you were telling me to stop talking.
No, this is keep going. This is keep rolling. No,
I'm
keep rolling with this. No.
So anything that you need your attorney for, whether it's divorce, whether it's the OVI that you got because you're out drinking, whether it's a poor choice and you get into a domestic violence situation at home.
Yeah.
I mean, anything that you encounter because you can't keep control of your mind.
That's powerful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that was my big question for you, Dr. Dave, which was what was the barrier? I'm sure you've seen a lot of folks come in on their first visit. I remember my very first therapy visit was right after my attempt. And man, all it took was for the therapist was to and I remember it. I don't remember a lot from that time, but I remember her saying, looks like you got the weight of the world on your shoulders. And that was it, man. The dam just opened up.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, if you can get yourself in that door, I think if you could work through that barrier, those barriers that you spoke about, and go for just that one session. But I say this a lot on the other show, and I also say it in the books, is therapists are kind of, you have to find the one that you connect to. And I think where people go wrong is they go to one, and it's kind of like a relationship. If it doesn't gel, you're going to know it's not going to gel. Like, if you just know, you go in that room and you're just not gelling with that person, find another one. And if that one doesn't work, find another one. Find another one. Like, there's so many that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll find that one person that you really connect with. Where I think people go wrong is that they feel that their relationship, their personal relationship that they're in, their counterpart is that therapist. And that's not Dr. Dave, you could speak to it. For me, I don't think that's a very healthy way of doing it. You need that impartial person, that third party.
Totally agree. And I also agree strongly with your point. Mark's made it many times too, that seeing a therapist doesn't mean you're going to fit with that therapist. You spend all your existence getting yourself to make that phone call. You walk in the door, you figure out how to do all the pragmatic shit. You walk in the door and it's like 15, an hour later, like, oh shit, that's not going to go anywhere. And I know it's not going to go anywhere. So my recommendation to folks in coaching right now is find 3 people, ask them for a 15-minute freebie. If they give you a 15-minute freebie, you're going to know when you walk out the door, yes or no, probably. And if they won't give you a 15-minute freebie, they're not the person for you to see. Makes it pretty simple.
So profound.
Well, to clarify, a 15-minute freebie means give me 15 minutes of your time.
I want to come in and meet you and have a determination whether I want to sign up as your therapist, have you as my therapist. Yeah.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you offer that as a therapist? A 15-minute freebie?
Oh man, some people's time is just so valuable.
Yeah.
I love that sarcasm.
Yeah. That would concern me if the person was like, I just don't have 15 minutes to give.
Yes, exactly right.
You're just not invested in my mental stability then.
Right.
Like,
exactly. You're invested in your wallet.
Some 15-minute freebies are not worth it though. Are they, Jeff?
I'm going to disagree with that because I'm going to disagree. 15-minute freebie is that's a 15-minute freebie,
and you're giving Jeff a lot of credit for 15 minutes.
There has to be payment somewhere in there.
Jeff's more like a minute or a 3-minute freebie, and go on.
Everything's faster in the highway patrol, brother.
Oh my god!
And shorter.
And shorter. Wow.
That's why we get big hats.
No, you get wide hats.
Yeah, and no raincoats.
Yeah, really cool raincoats.
Yeah, we all had raincoats.
Well, to get back to the therapist thing, we were talking about, you get all, and I can tell you the energy that I had to get to therapy. Jesus, I would have rather, went and dug a 6-foot hole with a needle than to have to do that again, to get that energy, to get your ass in there. And then you walk in the door and this dude's or gal God, this is
terrible.
This is a shit show. And, I can remember leaving one therapist's office. I was actually mad at the therapist. I'm like, thanks for wasting my fucking time. Here's your fucking money, because it was, well, how do you think we can fix that? I don't know. That's why I'm here. What's the resources, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have I didn't have this knowledge. And that's where we want to say, and I really love that you said, just go through the book, find 3 people or 4 people or whatever, and see, can I have a 15-minute consultation and see who you click with?
Yeah.
By the time I climbed the stairs there on Poplar Street in Sydney, as soon as I walked in the door, the energy clicked instantly. And I'm like, and David's dropping the F-bomb. And I mean, like within, he's like, yeah, sit the fuck down. Hey, what are you doing, man? I'm David. I'm like, whoa, I like this guy. And then David and I connect on music. I mean, and it just, I felt really comfortable. Another thing you got to remember is be honest. Don't go to fucking therapy and lie, bro.
Yeah.
Because if you're lying, if you're just there in couples therapy with your significant other and you're still doing like me, still have your side check, you're wasting everyone's time. And worst of all, you're wasting yours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So clear the field, like I like to say. You really got to do some growing up. You really got to do some look at that guy in the mirror pretty hard, because I hated that motherfucker for a long time. But the better work, and when we're talking about the work, we're talking about going and doing therapy. And everyone answer at the same time. If you disagree, say no. But doesn't the work suck?
Terrible.
Oh yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
It's and Donnie's grimacing like, oh yeah.
I had to call Nick for therapy before I went to therapy the other day.
That's true.
So I got a 45-minute therapy session with Nick before I went in for an hour and a half therapy session. And
So
Invoice Mr. Hat for that.
I felt
care of Dietless.
I kind of felt like
wow.
I felt like a head coach at a sporting team. I had to but it was a good session. It was good for both of us, because I think we were both down that day. We were both
yes, right.
We were both very down that day. And I think people need to understand also is just because you're in therapy, and no day is ever like, I'll have 6 really good days and then 2 really bad days. It's not a fix all. It's not like where a switch turns.
I just want to add, it's hard to go through that therapist's door. But what helped me was finding the right people like Marc the Cop here, just dooring up with him every night, sharing the shit. And, then you get to talking about hard stuff, where I have thousands of friends, but there's none of them but the people in this room and on the computer screen that I could talk to know and give me good advice. Like, hey, bro. But there's those people out there. And Marc said, and he mentioned another friend. He's like, dude, I got a guy you need to talk to right now. And Dr. Dave called him. And immediately, Dr. Dave is a coach. So Dr. Dave and Marc helped me live another week with David's help of going down the therapy line. I was getting fixed for the minute and the hour and the day and the week, but I needed life fixture where a therapist can get. And I finally... I went to some therapies here and there, and it just like we were talking earlier, I'm fine, dude. That's fine. But I knew I wasn't. And I finally got to Dave. I was like, hey, I really need fixed. And from childhood on, whatever. So he did exactly that. Gave me 3 people. And those were hard 3 calls to make. You feel stupid, hey, and they're like, well, I can get you in May. And this is December or something. I'm like, hey, oh shit, dude, I need help tomorrow, and finally came across the right guy in the second. I went in there. It's magic, and it's really great. So I would say find a good friend that you can tell anything to, and they'll hold you accountable to your shit.
Great accountability coach,
right? Yeah. And not some dude just pat you on the back, yeah, you're fucked up, yeah, your wife's fucked up, everybody's fucked up, right? Yeah. To actually help you, and that really got me through the front doors of a therapist.
And I think you just summed up the whole entire Off Duty and On the Air, which is for you to tune in to this show and understand that there are 5 people that have been through it, know what it's about, and have come out through the other side. And then there's Dr. Dave with his super sexy voice.
So sexy.
Yeah, we're going to get him doing some voiceover work too. So
I can't wait for that. And I think that's private time for me.
We all have our own version of therapy, right now.
Yeah, we do.
Then what'd you say? Daddy's got to eat.
Dave just might be our conductor on the train.
Daddy's got to eat. That's going to be a drop on my soundboard soon.
What Daddy's got to eat?
Daddy's got to eat.
Yeah, we'll do some voiceover.
You want David to say that? Real quick?
I know. I want Kelly to say it.
I bet you do, weirdo.
But I will say that I think you, Jeff, I think you really kind of summed it up. There are a lot of podcasts out there. There are a lot of folks that talk about stuff. There's a lot of first responder podcasts out there, and they play it safe and nothing, no dig towards them. That's their audience. That's fine. But I think what needs to be said and has to be said. I think the folks that are involved in this project are probably the foremost experts at this point in the game. And I'm not trying to oversell it, but it's legitimately the truth, which is, you walked around with a gun full of bullets. Now you walk around with a gun full of memories. So you need.
Oh wow! Yes,
Right.
There's our soundbite,
Yeah,
Nick.
right there.
Like that.
Right.
That's a T-shirt.
Dang.
Right.
All rights reserved. Copyright, Nick. So I say that this episode was really the pilot episode of us just kind of introducing all of ourselves, who we are, how we got to this point. It's amazing how all roads kind of interject with each other at some point, because a year ago, 2 years ago, I didn't know any of you folks, and now I know most of you, too much.
Sorry about that, Nick. That picture was for somebody else, but
You ever seen a Tic Tac that small?
it was more like a button. But anyway,
Button on a fur coat.
I'm a visual person. This is not going great.
yeah, your phone's going to go off here in a minute.
But I think if we could recreate the text group that we have with all of these folks that are in this project right now, if we can create that on a larger scale, where you can carve out 45 minutes of your day and listen to this, and it helps, then we've done what our goal was.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap it up for this episode, and I'm going to open it up to the crew over there. Any feedback, anything you want to say before we head out?
Want to do reverse batting order and start with Donnie?
Yeah, let's do that while he's still awake.
Reverse.
Yeah,
While he's still awake.
Keep me awake for a minute.
I heard some snoring over there, so
I'll leave that one alone too. No, I just really hope that for everybody that does listen to this, though, we get the message out that your mental health is everything, and get started early on it. And for those who have been in it and know that there is life after this, so after you get done with the public service, so yeah, I just hope everybody listens and gets that help that they need.
Awesome.
well said.
We'll go to the Kelly.
I get intro music.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, sorry.
Oh, that wasn't intro music. That was outro music. I'm extra sad now.
Don't worry, you'll have your own intro music. So it might be working on it.
I have something really thoughtful to say. Worry about yourself. No, this is serious.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were
not
looking
a
at
joke.
Nick when you said that. Sorry.
No, you need to worry about yourself. Don't worry about what other people are going to think about your journey, because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. They won't be there anyways. So you're going to be alone in a room by yourself and take care of yourself before you worry about what it looks like to other people to get help.
Right on.
100%.
The
Right.
end.
That was really good.
And find somebody, some people that you can talk to, safe people to point you and help you in the right direction when you're veering off. And that's what everybody at this table, everybody in this group, I mean, fuck, it's awesome. Somebody hold you accountable 100%, not just let you, do some bad things, but reach out. And it's important to keep reaching out. And I reach out as often as I can to everybody here.
As soon as you stop listening to the podcast, go do something for yourself. Turn off the device, get up off your ass, and go do something for yourself. Physically, mentally, emotionally, a therapy appointment, a friend you call, whatever. Get up and do something for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Open your
100%.
windows.
Yeah,
Yes.
the reason why Jeff said that is because I told him to get up and open the fucking blinds, dude. He's like, "Oh, I'm like, it's a bright sunny day today. Let's go out and enjoy that, and to echo kind of what the table said and to kind of wrap it up is that, everyone's in that dark spot. the best thing for therapy is get out in the sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
I found that because I have horrible seasonal depression, I go to Planet Fitness. They're not paying me to say this, but I go late. Right. Yeah. Anyway, hint, hint. But I go lay in suntan bed. I mean, I put on my meditation music and I just lay there for whatever time. And that is, for a period of time when I was at my lowest, that was the best 10 minutes of the day. Because you just had that, the light therapy coming in. And then this year I spent the shitty months in Florida, and that's really had a profound difference. But another thing I want to bring up is watch your moon phases, boys and girls.
Right.
As of this recording, we're in a waxing moon, and everyone today that I've spoken with in my check-in group is like, man, I'm really struggling today, as am I. Had a really bad morning. And then I'm like, fuck this. I checked the moon. I'm like, there we go. Now it all makes sense. And it was the same thing last year, but everybody's like, oh, that's bullshit. But you talk to any ER nurse,
right?
We always had our really bad domestics under the full moon. It's a fact of life, but every day's a therapy day. Learn to work your therapy. Luckily Dr. David's put a great set of therapy tools onto my tool belt. And even during our podcast, I've had to ground. I've just stopped talking, and of course, I work with professionals that they just take the conversation up. Nick, have you ever had that? You just kind of get overwhelmed while you're on the air, and luckily your partner can just pick up the ball and run with it. But
many times.
Go ahead, sir. Take us out.
So I think everybody, your takeaway from this is that this is what the show will be about. This is what our expectation is, and we're definitely open to feedback. And we're really looking forward to it. This group is really, really dedicated and committed behind the scenes. The amount of discussions that happened behind the scenes to get this going was really, really good. And we appreciate you tuning in. We don't know how frequent these will come out, but they will be on two different platforms, on the Roll Call Room podcast platform and the Shield Within platform, until we kind of mutter our way through it and kind of figure it out. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sticking with us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. And everybody that's on this, thank you again.
Yeah, man.
All right.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.